Welcome, dear listener, to this quiet space where the night opens slowly and gently around you, like a curtain drawn back from a dimly glowing stage. I'm so glad you're here. As the world softens into evening and the mind loosens its grip on the day, this moment becomes a small sanctuary, a place where you can rest, breathe, and drift. Tonight, we'll be exploring one of the most comforting subjects imaginable, the science and wonder of sleep. The topic itself seems to exhale as it's spoken, filled with softness, mystery, and the deepest sense of belonging. Sleep is something we all share, something woven into the fabric of life itself, something nature gives freely and generously. It is both ancient and immediate, happening in you this very moment as your heartbeat slows and your mind begins to quiet. Before we sink fully into this peaceful journey, if you'd like to support this channel, feel free to like this video, subscribe, or leave a gentle comment, perhaps sharing where you're listening from, or what you hope to find in tonight's exploration before you drift away into dreams. Let's begin. Sleep has always been one of humanity's most tender mysteries. For thousands upon thousands of years, long before science had microscopes or brain scanners or biological theories, our ancestors looked to the night sky and sensed that sleep was a kind of return, a soft, folding inward, a nightly voyage into a world that both protects. In early Chinese traditions, healers described sleep as the moment when one's qi, one's life energy, retreats from the outer world and flows inward to nourish the organs, like a river slipping quietly back into its source. Across deserts, mountains, and coasts, from ancient Persia to early Mesoamerican cultures, sleep was seen not simply as a pause in consciousness, but as a kind of sacred alignment with nature's rhythm, a reminder that the body is made of cycles and tides. Modern science, with all its instruments and discoveries, has only deepened the sense of wonder surrounding sleep. As researchers study the body's nightly metamorphosis, they often describe sleep as a symphony, an intricate orchestration of hormones, electrical patterns, chemicals, and cellular processes that rise and fall in perfect harmony. The body, which appears still on the outside, becomes extraordinarily active within. Your brain begins the night by gently releasing melatonin as darkness falls, marking the shift from wakefulness into drowsiness. This hormone is sometimes called the chemical dusk, a soft internal signal that encourages your mind to turn inward and your organs to prepare for rest. Meanwhile, your core temperature begins to drop slightly, like the earth cooling after sunset, helping your metabolism slow into its nighttime rhythm. As you sink deeper, your brain enters stages of sleep that alternate in beautiful, almost tidal cycles. In the early part of the night, slow wave sleep takes the lead, a deep, restorative state where your brain waves stretch into long, rolling patterns. Scientists often compare these waves to ocean swells, rising and falling with steady, rhythmic grace. During slow-wave sleep, your body performs some of its most important maintenance, repairing muscle fibers, releasing growth hormone, and strengthening the immune system. Your cells begin to tidy themselves, cleaning up waste products that accumulate during the day. Even your DNA receives a kind of quiet upkeep, as cellular mechanisms repair tiny strands that may have become stressed or damaged. It is as though the body becomes a peaceful workshop, lit only by moonlight, where small, attentive caretakers move slowly through rooms of tissue and bone, mending what has frayed. This gentle process extends to your mind as well. Memory consolidation, the scientific term for organizing and storing new information, happens most effectively during sleep. Throughout the day, your brain collects countless impressions, thoughts, emotions, and experiences. It stores some quickly, lets others linger unresolved, and sets aside the rest to be sorted later. When sleep arrives, the brain begins its quiet archival work. Neurons that fired together during the day rekindle their patterns, strengthening their connections, while others are gently pruned away to maintain clarity and balance. In this way, your memories settle like soft sediment in a clear pool, arranged in layers that bring coherence to your inner world. Sleep doesn't just save memories, it shapes them, polishing them like stones smoothed by water. This nightly organization is so essential that researchers have found sleep deprivation can make it harder to retain new information, regulate emotions, or focus attention. But rather than seeing this as a warning, it may feel more soothing to think of it as a reminder that the brain depends on rest the same way a forest depends on nightfall. Darkness brings recovery, silence brings renewal, and the mind, like the land, requires time to restore its subtle balance. As we explore these quiet processes, you might allow yourself to settle a little more deeply where you are. Take a slow breath, letting the rhythm of your inhale and exhale join the natural cadence of this nighttime science. Breathing is its own gentle cycle, a soft wave that rises, falls, and rises again, mirroring the very pattern of sleep itself. Dreaming is another part of this nighttime world, one that has fascinated humans for as long as we've existed. When the brain enters REM sleep, named for the rapid eye movements that often accompany it, the electrical activity becomes almost as lively as it is during wakefulness. Though channeled in different ways, REM sleep is thought to be essential for emotional healing, helping the brain process feelings that were too intense, too tangled, or too complex during the day. Some scientists describe dreams as overnight therapy, a gentle unraveling of knots in the emotional mind. In this state, the amygdala, the region linked to emotional intensity, becomes active, while the prefrontal cortex, the center of logic and self-control, rests. This combination creates the surreal, fluid landscapes of dreams, where familiar places twist into new shapes and memories merge with imagination. Ancient cultures understood the significance of dreams long before science did. In Egypt, dreams were recorded on papyrus as messages from the gods. In indigenous Australian cultures, the dreaming describes both a spiritual dimension and a foundational structure of reality. In the Andes, shamans believed dreams could reveal hidden guidance. While these interpretations differ, they share a gentle truth. Dreams are meaningful. They offer a space where the mind can wander freely, untethered by daylight concerns, guided by symbols, emotions, and ancient neural pathways. As your brain cycles through REM and non-REM stages throughout the night, the transitions themselves are smooth and continuous. It is as though your consciousness drifts on a quiet river that occasionally deepens into shadow, then rises into light, then deepens again. Each stage has its purpose. Each wave carries you toward restoration. What makes sleep even more extraordinary is that it's not only humans who follow these nightly rhythms. Every living being on Earth rests in one form or another. Birds tuck their heads under their wings or sleep perched upon branches, sometimes entering tiny micro-dreams lasting only seconds. Whales drift through the ocean with half of their brain asleep, letting the other half stay awake enough to surface for air. Plants fold their leaves, adjust the flow of nutrients. Even microscopic organisms follow circadian cycles, responding to light and darkness with ancient precision. Sleep, in its many forms, is universal, a shared ritual of renewal across the entire web of life. The circadian rhythm that guides this process is deeply rooted in biology, shaped by millions of years of evolution. Nearly every cell in your body contains a molecular clock, a tiny mechanism that keeps time with incredible accuracy, helping orchestrate everything from hormone release to digestion to body temperature. These clocks sync together through a master pacemaker in the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a cluster of about 20,000 neurons nestled just above the crossing of the optic nerves. This structure responds to light, especially the cool blue wavelengths of morning, guiding your internal sense of day and night. As sunlight fades, the signals shift, and the chemistry of evening settles in the natural, quiet descent into rest. The beauty of this system is that it works even when you're unaware of it. Whether you're listening at dusk, in the middle of the night, or during a nap on a quiet afternoon, your body knows what to do. It knows how to shift, how to release, how to slow. It has performed this nightly choreography since before you were born, practicing it every day of your life without needing to be told. Sleep is not something you must force. It is something you return to, as naturally as a river returns to the sea. As we continue this gentle exploration, imagine the night around you deepening. Imagine your body entering its own quiet transformation, guided by ancient rhythms and subtle internal signals. The concept of sleep, so familiar yet so vast, is both a scientific marvel and a poetic truth. It is the place where consciousness unwinds, where the mind drifts into a realm of soft images and gentle insights, and where the body performs its miracle of renewal. It is the oldest comfort known to living beings, a quiet ritual that predates language, culture, and memory itself. In the next part of our journey, we'll continue drifting deeper into this science of serenity, exploring the body's nighttime landscapes, the quieter corners of the mind, and the universal rhythms that guide all creatures toward rest. But for now, simply allow these ideas to settle in you like dusk settling over a calm horizon, letting the tranquility of the moment carry you gently forward. The night around you continues to unfold in quiet layers, as though each moment of darkness reveals another chamber of the body's internal landscape, another soft truth about the science of rest. We ended before with the image of dusk settling over a calm horizon, and from that horizon we drift now into the deeper currents of sleep's hidden architecture. The body, even in stillness, continues its intricate choreography, and the mind continues its slow, deliberate unwinding. Sleep is both a sanctuary and a system, and within its rhythms lie countless details that science is only beginning to understand. As you move further into the gentle darkness of this exploration, imagine your brain as a kind of night-lit city, its lights dimmed, its activity quieter but more intentional. During wakefulness, this city blazes with constant motion, thoughts darting like traffic, decisions processed in flashes, perceptions weaving rapidly through billions of interconnected neurons. But in sleep, the city transforms. Streets empty, lights lower, but certain pathways glow more steadily than ever. Some regions rest completely, while others engage in the careful, patient work of restoring the mind's balance. The hippocampus, the delicate seahorse-shaped structure responsible for forming new memories, becomes particularly active as it transfers the day's experiences toward long-term storage. Neuroscientists have observed that this process resembles a librarian carefully reshelving books after a busy day, creating order from the assortment of impressions and emotions collected along the way. Beyond memory, other forms of mental restoration occur in the brain's glymphatic system, a network discovered only recently. During sleep, especially deep sleep, this system opens wider, clearing away metabolic waste that builds up during waking hours. The process is subtle and silent, a kind of nightly cleansing in which cerebrospinal fluid washes through the brain's tissues, removing byproducts that, if left unattended, could cloud thinking or contribute to long-term imbalance. Scientists often compare this to the way rivers renew themselves at night, when the winds settle and the water flows more steadily. The brain, in its own way, becomes a tide pool, refreshed by currents that only appear in darkness. As sleep deepens, your brain waves become slower and more coordinated. They ripple in long, smooth patterns that researchers call delta waves, the signature of slow wave sleep. These waves create a kind of electrical stillness, a quiet plateau across which neurons fire in unison. It is in this stage that the mind becomes most insulated from the outside world. Sound fades, awareness dims, and the self gently dissolves into a profound calm. Even animals share this deep state. Cats, tucked into soft curls, sink into slow wave sleep with a twitch of whiskers. Horses doze standing upright. But when they lie down fully, they enter the same restorative depths. Birds nestle into feathers warmed by the day's sunlight, their hearts slowing as slow wave sleep surrounds them. Across species, this stage is a universal form of healing, a quiet chamber of the night that evolution has preserved for millions of years. Though we often think of sleep as a single event, it is better understood as a cycle, a rhythmic progression between stages that repeats throughout the night. A complete cycle, from light sleep to deep sleep to REM dreaming and back again, lasts roughly 90 minutes. This pattern repeats 3, 4, or 5 times, depending on how long you rest. Each cycle has its own emotional texture, its own biological purpose. Early cycles contain more slow wave sleep, allowing the body to repair tissues, reduce inflammation, and strengthen immune defenses. Later cycles shift toward REM sleep, where dreams unfold and emotional processing accelerates. Over the course of a night, the proportion of dreaming gradually increases, as though the mind saves its most imaginative and introspective moments for the hours closest to dawn. The concept of the circadian rhythm, introduced earlier, becomes even more fascinating when viewed from the perspective of ancient life on Earth. Billions of years ago, before complex organisms existed, single-celled life forms responded to cycles of light and darkness created by Earth's rotation. These early ancestors developed molecular clocks that helped them anticipate dawn and dusk, a trait so advantageous that it became woven into the biology of nearly every species that followed. Modern humans still carry this ancient timing system. Even in total darkness, the body maintains a roughly 24-hour cycle, guided by internal cues and the steady ticking of the suprachiasmatic nucleus. This internal clock influences countless processes. When you feel alert, when you feel hungry, when your body temperature rises and falls, and when you naturally drift towards sleep. These biological clocks are influenced not just by light, but by temperature, food intake, physical activity, and social interaction. When these cues align, the circadian rhythm remains steady, allowing sleep to arrive gently and predictably. When they fall out of alignment due to stress, irregular schedules, or late-night stimulation, the rhythm can become unsettled. Yet even then, the system seeks balance. It is resilient, designed to orient itself again, like a compass needle adjusting to magnetic north. This resilience reflects an ancient truth. Sleep is not fragile. It may fluctuate, shorten, or deepen, but the drive to rest is so fundamental that the body continuously returns to it, guided by millions of years of evolutionary wisdom. Just as individual organisms follow their rhythms, ecosystems too have their nightly patterns. Forests, often imagined as silent after dark, are full of slower, deeper forms of life. Trees release different chemical signals at night, shifting their internal processes toward repair. Their leaves relax slightly, stomata opening to exchange gases under the cool, forgiving cover of darkness. In coral reefs, countless species reduce their metabolic rate after sunset. Conserving energy, tiny marine organisms rise toward the surface in one of the largest animal migrations on Earth, a nightly ascent guided by lunar cycles, temperature changes, and the pull of circadian timing. These migrations nourish the entire ocean, creating a vast, rhythmic movement that repeats continually, independent of seasons or tides. The Earth itself moves through cycles of heating and cooling each day, a planetary rhythm that echoes the circadian patterns of living beings. As the sun disappears, the surface releases stored warmth, temperatures fall, and the atmosphere shifts subtly. These changes affect everything from insect behavior to cloud formation. Even the Earth's magnetic field participates in daily fluctuations, influenced by solar winds. Though imperceptible to us, these shifts contribute to the environment in which sleep evolved, a natural symphony of light, temperature, and energy that has guided life for billions of years. The universality of sleep connects not only species and ecosystems, but also cultures across time. Ancient Persian healers believed that sleep brought clarity to the heart, allowing wisdom to emerge. In many African traditions, sleep was seen as a time when the ancestors' voices could be heard through dreams, offering guidance and reassurance. Among indigenous communities of North America, dreams carried profound meaning, often interpreted by elders as reflections of emotional balance or spiritual insight. In Polynesian cultures, sleep was thought to restore the mana, or inner power, that could become depleted during daily life. These cultural interpretations differ in detail, but they share a deep recognition of rest as a sacred and essential part of human existence. Modern psychology, though rooted in observation and scientific method, often arrives at a similar perspective. Sleep is not simply a physical necessity but an emotional refuge. During REM dreaming, the brain processes experiences without the presence of stress chemicals that flood the system during waking moments. This means that even challenging or intense memories can be revisited in a calmer emotional state, allowing healing to unfold gently. Some researchers believe that this is why difficult feelings often soften after a good night's rest, and why conversations or conflicts that seem overwhelming at night may feel more manageable in the morning. Sleep acts as a kind of emotional reset, a quiet guardian that tends to the mind's inner terrain when we cannot. As you imagine these processes unfolding, picture your own mind drifting deeper into this vast landscape of restoration. There is a certain poetry in the idea that while you rest, countless microscopic processes work tirelessly to maintain your health and clarity. Calcium ions slip in and out of neural pathways, strengthening memories. Proteins fold into the shapes required for repair. Hormones rise and fall in rhythmic patterns, guiding appetite, energy, and mood. Every organ participates. The liver adjusts its metabolism. The heart slows its beat. The lungs adopt a more even, steady rhythm. The skin begins to heal from the sun and stress of the day. All of this unfolds quietly, without the need for conscious intervention, as though your body carries within it its own midnight wisdom. Animals across the planet follow similar patterns. Desert foxes curl into burrows cooled by the night air. Elephants rest in short intervals, leaning against trees or lying gently on their sides. Hummingbirds lower their metabolism so dramatically during sleep that their body temperature drops to near ambient levels, conserving precious energy. Even insects show signs of rest. Bees become still and unresponsive in the hive, and fruit flies, a tiny model organism often used in sleep research, demonstrates sleep cycles strikingly similar to those in mammals. These creatures remind us that sleep is not a luxury, but a universal biological rhythm, one that connects us to the simplest and most ancient forms of life. Plants, too, participate in nightly renewal. In the absence of sunlight, their photosynthetic machinery shuts down, allowing enzymes and pigments to repair themselves. Some flowers close their petals to protect delicate structures from nocturnal chill. Others release their fragrances only at night, attracting specialized pollinators like moths and tiny bats. These scents drift through the air in subtle waves, part of the nocturnal world that humans rarely witness. The night is not empty. It is filled with life moving at its own calm pace, guided by biological clocks that mirror our own. As we continue drifting gently into this exploration, imagine the entire planet resting in its quiet rotation. Shadows lengthen across continents, oceans shift into slower rhythms, forests breathe more softly. The world seems to exhale, and in that exhalation, every living creature finds its place in the cycle of rest. Within this vast tapestry, your sleep is simply one thread, but a thread woven with immense care and ancient purpose. The night is still deep, and there is much more to explore. The deeper mysteries of dreaming, the ways sleep shapes creativity and emotional insight, and the subtle interplay between mind, memory, and sensation. But for now, let the idea of universal rest settle gently in your thoughts, like a soft blanket of quiet understanding. When you're ready, we'll continue to drift deeper into this realm in the next part, exploring even more of the science and serenity that makes sleep one of nature's most profound gifts. As the night deepens, the quiet world within the mind opens wider, revealing layers of sleep that feel almost like hidden rooms. These rooms are not made of walls or corridors, but of states of consciousness that blend into one another with the gentlest transitions. You have already drifted through the landscapes of slow-wave sleep and into the terrain of REM, but sleep stretches far beyond those familiar stages. It is a whole universe of shifting chemistry, electrical patterns, and ancient rhythms, all unfolding in their own time. Tonight we continue wandering through this inner universe, tracing the soft currents of biology and the echoes of memory that shape every sleeping moment. One of the most remarkable discoveries about sleep is that different parts of the brain rest in different ways. During deep sleep, the thalamus, the gateway for sensory information, closes itself like a quiet gatekeeper, shielding the mind from external noise. But even then, certain regions remain attentive, subtly aware of threats or changes in the environment. This selective awareness is an evolutionary gift. Early humans who slept in open landscapes needed to remain sensitive to danger, and so the brain learned to rest while still guarding its edges. The result is a kind of layered consciousness, where some circuits sink into stillness while others maintain a gentle vigilance. Even today, people who sleep near waves, forests, or city streets often find that familiar sounds seem to fade into the background while unexpected ones pull them slightly upward, closer to waking. This delicate balance between surrender and awareness is part of the reason sleep feels so safe and so restorative. As sleep progresses through its cycles, another beautiful process activates: the rebalancing of neurotransmitters. These chemical messengers, serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, and many others, guide emotions, motivation, attention, and mood. Throughout the day, they fluctuate continuously in response to experiences, stresses, and moments of joy. But during sleep, they settle into a quiet, restorative pattern. Serotonin levels dip during REM, allowing the dreaming mind to explore memories without the same emotional weight carried in waking life. Dopamine shifts, helping regulate motivation for the next day. Even the stress-related chemicals that accumulate over time begin to fade, giving the emotional landscape of the brain a chance to smooth itself like sand settling after a wave. This nightly reset is why the world often feels softer and more manageable after a good night's sleep. Dreams themselves deserve their own wandering path through this story. Science has uncovered a great deal about how and when dreams form, but the question of why we dream remains partly mysterious, shimmering like moonlight on the surface of a lake. Some researchers believe dreams help the brain rehearse and solve problems. Others think they provide emotional balance by revisiting experiences and weaving them into the broader fabric of memory. Yet there is something poetic in the possibility that dreams simply allow the mind to play, to create images, stories, and ideas without constraints. Children who dream more intensely than adults often wake with a sense of wonder, as though their minds spent the night exploring entire worlds. Adults, though more anchored by waking responsibilities, still dream in symbols, memories, and metaphors. Even if the details fade quickly upon waking, the emotional imprint remains, like the faint warmth of sunlight long after dusk. Across cultures, dreams have always been treated with reverence. In many Middle Eastern traditions, dreams were thought to contain glimpses of spiritual truths or present subtle guidance about life's complexities. In parts of West Africa, dream sharing is a community ritual, allowing individuals to process emotions collectively. Among indigenous peoples of the Amazon, dreams are sometimes seen as a form of journeying, where the spirit wanders through symbolic landscapes. Although modern science does not interpret dreams in this spiritual sense, it does recognize their profound role in emotional and cognitive health. When we dream, the mind rehearses, refines, and releases all processes that soothe the psyche and help us return to waking life with greater clarity and resilience. Dreams can also influence creativity in remarkable ways. Many scientists, artists, and thinkers throughout history have spoken of pivotal ideas arriving in the quiet hours of sleep. The chemist Auguste Kekulé famously described dreaming of a snake biting its own tail, a symbol that led him to understand the ring structure of benzene. Mary Shelley was inspired by a vivid nightmare when imagining the foundation of her novel, Frankenstein. Even modern musicians, mathematicians, and inventors often say that sleep provides them with solutions that feel sudden and intuitive, yet grounded in deep subconscious processing. This creative unfolding is not accidental. During REM sleep, the brain reduces its reliance on the logical pathways used during the day and activates more associative networks. This allows ideas to blend freely, forming connections that might never occur in waking consciousness. But creativity is only one facet of what sleep nourishes. The immune system, too, relies heavily on the quiet cycles of night. While you rest, immune cells circulate more actively, seeking out and repairing early signs of damage. Inflammatory markers settle, allowing the body to prepare for the next day's challenges. Even vaccines tend to be more effective when the body is well rested, demonstrating that sleep strengthens nearly every layer of biological defense. The reason, scientists believe, lies partly in the deep, slow-wave stages, when hormone levels shift in precise patterns that allow immune cells to communicate more effectively. In this sense, Sleep is not just a passive state, but an active guardian, working with exquisite coordination to keep the body strong. Some of the most intricate nighttime processes unfold in the cardiovascular system. The heart, which works tirelessly through every hour of every day, receives its gentlest moments of recovery during sleep. Blood pressure falls in a natural dip called nocturnal dipping. Heart rate slows, giving cardiac tissues a chance to rest from the steady demands of wakefulness. The vascular system responds to these changes with subtle adjustments, easing tension in the blood vessel walls. This nightly unwinding allows the heart to maintain its strength and resilience across the years. Without sleep, the heart faces a greater load, as though it is being asked to run endlessly without pause. But in the softness of the night, it settles into a restorative rhythm that echoes the ancient cadence of life. If you imagine the body during sleep, you might picture it as a vast nighttime garden with countless small processes unfolding quietly, tending each corner of the inner landscape. Cells repair themselves, tissues rejuvenate, the digestive system slows, focusing on restoration rather than intake. Even the skin, which shields the body from the outer world, engages in repair, producing collagen and strengthening its protective barrier. In this garden, every part knows its role. Every part moves in harmony. The environment we sleep in also plays a part in this harmony. For thousands of years, humans lived with natural cycles of light and darkness, shaped by the rising and setting sun. The night sky, lit by stars and moonlight, served as a gentle cue that rest had arrived. Today, artificial light can interfere with these cues, especially light in the blue spectrum that mimics daylight. Yet even amid the glow of modern life, the body retains its instinctive connection to darkness. When light fades, whether naturally or by design, the eyes signal the brain to release melatonin, guiding the circadian rhythm into the night. Darkness becomes a kind of language that the body understands, an ancient signal that the time for renewal has come. As sleep deepens, the boundary between inner and outer worlds becomes soft and permeable. Thoughts drift like shadows. Emotions lighten. The mind steps gently away from the day's concerns. This transition, though subtle, reflects a profound shift in brain activity. The default mode network, a set of regions associated with self-reflection and internal dialogue, quiets during certain stages of sleep, giving the mind a chance to release its loops of thought. At the same time, other networks responsible for sensory integration and restoration become more active. The overall effect is a soothing balance, like a lake that slowly becomes still after a long day of wind. You might notice that as you listen, your own body responds naturally to this quiet exploration. The breath becomes a little slower, thoughts a little softer, the surroundings a little more distant. Allow your shoulders to soften, letting that gentle release ripple down through the chest and into the abdomen. This reminder is not an instruction, only an invitation, a chance for your body to join the calm that sleep science reveals so beautifully. The rhythm of sleep extends beyond the individual and into the larger cycles of the year. In winter, many species sleep longer or more deeply, a remnant of ancient adaptations to cold and scarcity. Humans, too, often feel a natural pull toward rest during the darker months, a quiet biological echo of a more seasonal past. In summer, when daylight is abundant, circadian rhythms shift slightly, adjusting to the extended brightness. These seasonal changes reveal how closely sleep is tied to nature, as though the body listens to the earth itself to decide when to slow down and when to brighten. In the oceans, nocturnal cycles influence creatures on an enormous scale. Phytoplankton, the tiny plants of the sea, rise and sink in response to the day-night cycle, creating pulses of life that sustain entire ecosystems. Bioluminescent organisms glow more brightly in darkness, creating shimmering displays as they drift through the currents. Even large marine animals, like sharks and rays, adjust their behavior in response to nightfall, following ancient rhythms of feeding and rest. These oceanic patterns mirror the rhythms within your own body: waves of activity, waves of stillness, and the quiet renewal that follows each wave. On land, deserts cool dramatically at night, inviting creatures who rest through the day to emerge. Many desert species conserve energy by sleeping during the hottest hours and becoming active under the moon. Their rest patterns are finely tuned to the environment, just as human sleep once adjusted to the cycles of firelight, starlight, and the slow shift of dusk to dawn. Forests undergo their own nightly rituals. Sap flow changes, insects quiet, and leaves adjust their angles with precision. The entire world seems to slow together, following the same universal lull. As we continue through this soft exploration, imagine the mind as if it were floating just above the boundary of dreams, not fully immersed yet not fully separate, hovering in the liminal space where thought meets imagination. Sleep scientists call this transitional state the hypnagogic phase. In it, small flashes of imagery appear, fragments of thought drift by, and the mind loosens the structure that defines waking consciousness. Some of the most creative insights emerge from this state, where the mind is both attentive and dreamlike. Artists have long sought to capture this moment, the delicate space between waking and dreaming, where ideas flow without effort. This drifting state also teaches us something profound about the nature of rest, that relaxation is not a switch, but a continuum. The body enters sleep gradually, passing through layers of calm that unfold with patient precision. Each stage is necessary. Each breath eases the mind a little further from the day. And when the transition completes, the body slips into the quiet symphony that has sustained life for millions of years. As part 3 comes to a gentle close, imagine sleep itself as a companion, steady, ancient, and endlessly patient, guiding you deeper into rest with each passing moment. There is still much to explore in the night. The transformative effects of dreaming, the emotional insights carried by sleep, and the cosmic patterns that bind rest to the broader workings of the universe. But for now, let the understanding settle softly within you, like starlight fading into the calm horizon of your thoughts. As the night continues its quiet turning, the landscape of sleep opens into even more delicate layers, each one softer than the last, each carrying traces of ancient patterns woven into the fabric of living beings. The earlier parts of this journey have carried you through the foundations of sleep, through memory, restoration, and the universal biological rhythms that touch every corner of the natural world. Now, as we move deeper, the tone becomes even quieter, as though the night itself is leaning closer to whisper the more subtle truths hidden in the physiology of rest. One of these truths lies in the gentle interplay between sleep and emotion. Throughout the day, the mind collects countless experiences, moments of joy, small frustrations, sudden surprises, lingering worries, fleeting impressions. These moments leave traces in the brain, tiny chemical footprints that shape how we feel and how we move through the world. During REM sleep, especially in the latter part of the night, the amygdala, the region involved in emotional intensity, becomes active. Yet the stress-related neurotransmitters that surge during wakefulness are largely absent. This creates an ideal environment for emotional processing. The brain can revisit memories without the sharp edges of fear or stress. It is in this space that emotional healing often begins, not through conscious effort, but through the quiet choreography of dreams. This nightly emotional repair is so subtle that most people never feel it happening, but they experience its effects the next day. A situation that once felt heavy may seem softer. A problem that felt overwhelming may appear with new possibilities. Even grief, one of the deepest emotional states, moves slowly through its own rhythm of healing during sleep, allowing the heart to adapt gently over time. While sleep cannot erase pain, it can cushion the edges, offering a space where the mind can process what the heart carries. In this way, sleep becomes a silent companion to human resilience, supporting the psyche through its most tender experiences. Just as dreams weave the emotional life into threads of understanding, they also play a role in reinforcing our sense of identity. During REM, the brain activates networks linked to memory, imagination. These networks intertwine, creating narratives that may seem strange or fragmented upon waking, yet carry meaningful themes from our daily lives. Dreams allow the self to explore possibilities, to revisit past encounters, and to project into imagined futures. This process is believed to strengthen the continuity of identity, helping the mind maintain a coherent sense of who we are across time. In the gentle world of dreams, the self becomes fluid, able to drift through memory and imagination without the boundaries that waking consciousness imposes. The relationship between sleep and creativity deepens here as well, especially during transitions between sleep stages. The hypnopompic state, the moments when the mind is rising gently toward wakefulness, is as rich and dreamlike as the hypnagogic moments that lead into sleep. In this state, neural connections are still loosened, allowing the mind to wander freely while slowly regaining structure. Many people experience sudden clarity or ideas emerging just as consciousness returns, a final gift from the night's quiet work. Writers, composers, and inventors have long described waking with insights that feel both new and familiar, as though the mind assembled them carefully overnight, waiting for morning light to reveal them. As we drift deeper into this exploration, imagine again the entire world at rest, animals, plants, and ecosystems responding to the subtle pull of darkness. The distinction between night and day may feel simple to us, but in the natural world it guides a vast choreography. In rainforests, nocturnal insects begin their cautious movements as the air cools. Their wings shimmer with tiny, delicate patterns designed to reflect moonlight or vanish completely in shadow. In grasslands, predators and prey engage in a quiet tension shaped by darkness, their senses sharpened by millennia of adaptation. In polar regions, where night and day can stretch into weeks or fade into brief flickers, animals adjust their sleep rhythms to internal cues rather than sunlight. Some species, like Arctic foxes and reindeer, rely heavily on circadian clocks, rooted deeper than vision, allowing them to navigate seasons with trust in their inner rhythms. Even microorganisms, invisible to the eye, respond to the cycles of rest with astonishing sensitivity. Cyanobacteria, some of the planet's oldest life forms, follow a day-night routine that governs their photosynthesis and energy storage. These microscopic beings possess some of the earliest biological clocks known to science, suggesting that sleep-like rhythms may predate complex life by billions of years. They turn toward light, generate energy, then rest in the dark, storing nutrients and preparing for the next cycle. In a way, these tiny organisms embody the essence of life's rhythm: activity, rest, renewal repeated endlessly across time. The deep roots of circadian rhythms remind us that sleep is more than a personal experience. It is a biological symphony orchestrated across the entire tree of life. This universality provides a comforting perspective. When we sleep, we join an ancient pattern that transcends species, geography, and culture. The earth rotates, day becomes night, and living beings respond with a harmony shaped by countless generations. Every night, when consciousness fades, the body aligns itself with this rhythm, participating in a cycle shared by whales drifting in the depths, foxes curling under snowy branches, and tiny insects hidden beneath leaves. As you envision these connections, notice how the mind can soften further. The night feels broader, more expansive, and yet more intimate. Even within the quiet of a room, the sleeper becomes part of an immense network of resting life. Let your eyes grow heavy, if they are not already, and allow that sense of belonging to settle around you like a warm, steady blanket. This is your final gentle reminder, a closing invitation to drift a little deeper into calm. The scientific story of sleep becomes even more fascinating when we consider the way the body keeps time internally. The circadian rhythm operates on a near 2 4-hour cycle, but the ultradian rhythms within it, shorter cycles that last around 90 to 120 minutes, govern the stages of sleep and many other biological processes. These shorter rhythms regulate patterns of alertness, digestion, body temperature, and hormone release. Together, circadian and ultradian rhythms create a layered structure of timekeeping that ensures the body functions smoothly. Even when external cues fade, this timekeeping system continues, guided by internal oscillators that coordinate with remarkable precision. Melatonin, often described as the hormone of darkness, its release increases as light diminishes, helping lower body temperature and encouraging drowsiness. But melatonin is only one voice in the nighttime choir: cortisol, the hormone that rises in the early morning to promote wakefulness, falls steadily as sleep approaches. Adenosine, a chemical that accumulates during wakefulness and increases sleep pressure, gradually dissipates overnight. Growth hormone surges during deep sleep, aiding tissue repair. Even leptin and ghrelin, the hormones that influence hunger and fullness, adjust during the night, helping regulate appetite and metabolism. These shifts reveal a profound truth. Sleep is not passive but deeply active, a coordinated symphony that touches every corner of the body. This harmony becomes even more evident when we consider how sleep influences learning and decision-making. Studies show that individuals who sleep well perform better on tasks that require attention, complex reasoning, and emotional discernment. This is because sleep enhances both memory consolidation and cognitive flexibility, the ability to adapt to new information and consider multiple perspectives. During dreaming, the brain strengthens creative problem-solving by connecting ideas that may seem unrelated when awake. This helps explain why difficult decisions sometimes become clearer after a night's rest. The mind, freed from linear thinking, explores possibilities in ways that waking consciousness cannot easily access. The connection between sleep and physical health is equally profound. Muscles repair tiny microtears that occur during movement or exercise. The cardiovascular system resets its tone. Cellular metabolism becomes more efficient. Even the endocrine system, the vast network of glands producing hormones, realigns during sleep, creating balance across the body. This nightly recalibration supports longevity, resilience, and overall vitality. Without sleep, these processes become strained. But with consistent rest, the body maintains a dynamic equilibrium, adapting to challenges with grace. As we wander further through this quiet exploration, it becomes clear that sleep is not merely a biological necessity, but a deeply woven part of the human experience. Throughout history, communities have developed rituals around rest-soothing practices meant to ease the transition between waking and dreaming. In ancient Japan, people lit soft lamps and whispered evening poems to prepare the mind for rest. In the Andes, families often gathered near the fire as night fell, sharing stories that allowed thoughts to settle gently. In parts of the Middle East, the tradition of evening tea was used not for stimulation, but for grounding, marking the start of the night's slow descent. These rituals were not driven by scientific understanding, yet they aligned perfectly with what we now know about sleep's requirements: stillness, warmth, dim light, and an atmosphere of safety. In modern life, many people move quickly, often without the natural cues that guided earlier generations. But the body remembers. It responds immediately to darkness, soft sounds, and calming rhythms. Even the simple act of listening to a quiet narrative can encourage the mind to settle, making space for sleep's gentle arrival. The parasympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for rest and digestion, activates in response to slow breathing, soothing tones, and gentle imagery. Heart rate slows, muscles relax. The mind shifts gradually from activity to reflection. from reflection to drifting, and from drifting into sleep. As the story of sleep continues to unfold, the boundary between scientific fact and poetic metaphor grows beautifully thin. Sleep is both measurable and mysterious, both physiological and deeply emotional. It strengthens memory and softens sorrow. It heals tissues and replenishes spirit. It tunes the body to ancient cycles and opens the mind to endless creativity. It anchors every living being to the Earth's rotation, creating a gentle unity across species and ecosystems. And every night, without effort, the body returns to this vast and comforting rhythm. Imagine yourself drifting along that rhythm, carried by the steady turning of the planet beneath you. The night is deep, but the horizon of dawn is far away, giving you all the time you need to rest, restore, and wander through the quiet landscapes of inner renewal. There is still a final chapter ahead, a gentle conclusion that will bring all these threads together into a peaceful ending. But for now, allow yourself to feel the growing stillness around and within you, as though the world itself has softened into a lullaby. As the night drifts onward, the vast landscape of sleep unfolds into its quietest regions, where thoughts become weightless and memory dissolves into gentle currents. We have traveled through the hidden architecture of the mind, the slow tides of restorative biology, and the universal rhythms shared by living beings across the planet. Now, as we move into the final stretch of this journey, the path becomes softer still, like a trail of moonlit sand guiding you toward a peaceful shore. Here, in this tranquil space, we explore the last layers of sleep's mysteries, the ones that blend science with sensation, knowledge with stillness, and the understanding of rest with the experience of it. The body, even now, continues its serene choreography. Deep in the brain, the thalamus filters sensory information with delicate precision, protecting the sleeping mind from the outside world. The prefrontal cortex rests quietly, free from the decisions and judgments of daytime. The hippocampus continues its nightly organization of memories, placing each experience in the proper place, forming connections that will shape tomorrow's insights. Meanwhile, the glymphatic system performs its slow cleansing, washing the brain with cerebrospinal fluid that clears away the metabolic byproducts of waking life. This process, discovered only recently, feels almost sacred in its simplicity. It reminds us that the mind is capable of tending to itself, of renewing its clarity without any effort from the conscious self. In the deeper layers of sleep, where slow wave patterns dominate, the brain enters a state so restful that researchers often describe it as the closest waking humans come to complete surrender. During these moments, neuronal firing synchronizes into broad, sweeping waves that move across the cortex, like the rising and falling of a calm tide. Muscles fully relax. Breathing becomes a steady rhythm. Heart rate slows into its most restful cadence. This is the stage where the body commits deeply to its own healing. Growth hormone supports tissue repair. Immune cells move with greater efficiency. Even the digestive system resets, preparing the body for the next cycle of nourishment and activity. In this sense, deep sleep is the Earth's gift to the body, a nightly restoration that is as natural as rain falling on thirsty soil. As the night continues, REM sleep grows more frequent, painting the mind with imagery, memory, and imagination. In these later dream cycles, the emotional processing described earlier becomes more fluid. The brain's amygdala sends signals that shape the emotional tone of the dream, while the prefrontal cortex rests, allowing the narrative to unfold freely. The result is a tapestry of scenes that may appear fragmented or surreal upon waking, yet serve vital psychological functions. Some dreams reflect worries or concerns, but softened by the absence of stress chemicals, turning sharp emotions into gentler forms. Others revisit joyful or meaningful moments, strengthening the memories that matter most to the heart. Still others create symbolic narratives that help the mind integrate conflicting feelings, making space for new perspectives when morning arrives. The science behind dreaming has grown increasingly nuanced, yet it remains one of the most mysterious processes known to neuroscience. Theories range from memory consolidation to emotional rehearsal to the refinement of neural pathways. But beyond these explanations lies something profoundly human, the universal sense that dreams connect us to something deeper than conscious thought. Dreams can bring comfort, stir creativity, and offer glimpses of understanding that feel almost like whispers from the subconscious. They remind us that the mind has its own compass, its own way of finding balance, even when life feels complex or uncertain. And they show that within sleep, the mind is not empty, but alive with gentle movement, weaving together the threads that form the story of the self. As we move further into this final part of our journey, the boundaries between inner and outer worlds continue to soften. The night becomes a vast, quiet companion. The air grows still. Somewhere far beyond your window, ecosystems shift into their own patterns of rest. Forests inhale and exhale in ways too subtle to notice. Mountains cool slowly under starlight. Rivers glide through the darkness with a calm that mirrors the rhythm of sleeping breath. The entire planet feels wrapped in a soft, natural hush, a reminder that rest is not an interruption, but a continuation of a rhythm shared by all life. The science of sleep becomes even more profound when viewed in this larger context. Across Earth's landscapes, species evolved in harmony with the cycles of light and darkness, shaping their own sleep patterns to match the world around them. Some animals enter torpor, a deeper form of rest that conserves energy. Others experience unihemispheric sleep, allowing half the brain to rest while the other stays alert. Plants, guided by circadian clocks embedded in their cells, shift metabolic pathways as the sun sets, focusing on repair and replenishment. Even coral reefs, illuminated by moonlit tides, respond to the night with subtle changes in their symbiotic organisms. These rhythms reveal an elegant truth. Sleep is woven into the pattern of being alive. It is a nightly reminder that life is not sustained through effort alone, but through cycles of effort and release, activity and quiet. Within the human mind, this pattern has emotional and spiritual dimensions as well. Sleep is a form of surrender, an act of trust in the body's wisdom. When consciousness fades, the mind allows itself to be carried by deeper forces, biology, instinct, evolution, memory, emotion. This surrender is not weakness. It is a timeless gesture of faith, a recognition that restoration requires letting go. In many spiritual traditions, sleep is described as a bridge between worlds, a space where the boundaries of identity blur and the mind reconnects with something broader than the self. Even in secular perspectives, there is a quiet reverence in the idea that each night, without fail, the body enters a state that renews it entirely, asking only for stillness in return. As you imagine this surrender, the body may seem to drift even further into calm. Muscles loosen, the breath deepens, thoughts grow slower, like lanterns floating down a dark, peaceful river. At this point in the night, the mind may hover in liminal states, neither fully dreaming nor fully awake. In these drifting moments, some of the most delicate neural activity occurs. The brain engages in microdreams, short bursts of imagery that last only seconds. These microdreams help shape the transition between deeper and lighter sleep, guiding the mind gently through cycles without abruptness. They are like soft steps along a staircase, each one easing the descent into deeper rest. This subtlety is part of what makes sleep such an extraordinary phenomenon. It is not a single event, but a continuum, a flowing sequence of states that blend into each other with fluid grace. And unlike many bodily processes, sleep has no strict moment of beginning or end. It begins in softness adrift, a loosening, and ends in the gentle rise toward wakefulness, often carrying traces of dreams into the morning. Even the act of waking is not a sudden shift, but a gradual climb in brain activity. Light triggers signals through the optic nerves. Cortisol begins its steady rise, and the thalamus opens slowly, allowing sensory information to return. The body reorients itself to the world, transitioning from the internal universe of dreams back into the daylight realm of thought and motion. The morning, like night, holds its own beauty, but for now, dawn is distant. The night stretches ahead, calm and unbroken, offering space for one final reflection on the nature of rest. Throughout this journey, we have explored the physiology of sleep, the brain waves, the hormones, the dream cycles, the biological clocks. We have stepped into the emotional healing that unfolds in REM, the cellular repair that deepens during slow-wave sleep, and the ancient patterns that connect all life through a shared rhythm. We have touched upon the creativity that blooms in dreaming, the wisdom that emerges after rest, and the universal comfort found in the darkness of night. All of this serves as a reminder that sleep is not simply a nightly occurrence, but a profound and natural act of restoration. In this final stretch, imagine yourself as part of the wider world, resting at this very moment. Picture the quiet breath of distant forests, the gentle currents of the ocean, the vast stillness of mountains under starlight. Imagine the earth turning slowly, guiding millions of beings into cycles of rest and waking. Notice how your own breath feels like a small echo of the planet's rhythms, rising and falling with an ancient steadiness. The science of sleep reveals how deeply the body is connected to these patterns, how every organ, every cell, every neural pathway responds to the turning of the earth. You are part of that rhythm. You have always been part of it. As you settle into this awareness, allow the final moments of this journey to become a soft landing place for your thoughts. Let the insights drift gently into the background. The night around you is large and kind. The body knows exactly what to do. Within you, the systems that guide sleep are ready to carry you into deeper rest, the slow waves that calm the brain, the gentle chemistry that softens consciousness, the dream cycles that weave the mind's quiet stories. Now, at the close of this long, peaceful exploration, imagine the horizon of sleep spreading before you like a shimmering field of night. There is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to accomplish, nothing you need to hold. The night welcomes you exactly as you are. The science of sleep, with all its intricacy and wonder, has prepared the way, illuminating the path toward rest, not with urgency but with serenity. The world slows, the breath deepens, the mind drifts. Thank you for sharing this journey into the quiet heart of sleep, into its biology, its mystery, its universal comfort. May the night wrap gently around you. May your dreams be soft. May your rest be deep and renewing. And as you drift now into the calm beyond words, into the peaceful space where consciousness loosens its grip, know that you are safe, supported, and carried by the oldest rhythm in all of nature. Good night, dear listener. May sleep embrace you with its quiet, healing light.